Welcome to my home and to Quantum Miracles, Manifesting, and Meditation. My goal in why I'm doing this is really about the fact that I travel all over the world teaching, and yet I barely do anything where I live because of the fact that I'm traveling all over the world and doing stuff. And I have this lovely home, and so when I can, I just invite people in when I have an opportunity so that I can share the work that I do, that I get an opportunity to go around the world and share. For people that are sometimes like my friends, they're like, what the heck do you do? Or like, now if you've been to my conferences, or people that are just want to grow, want to learn, and want to know what's going on. So for me, that's really why I'm doing this and why I'm doing it in my home. So I'm going to share first just a little bit about me for those of you that don't, because you're actually the only one in here that actually knows me and what I do. And then I'll go in, and my intention for this evening is to give you some actionable techniques that you can take away with you that will really show you how I think meditation can be challenging for some people, and understand how manifesting and what that really means and how that's attached to the idea of meditation. And I'll tell you a little bit about some of the things that the programs and stuff that we do around the world that are really cool. But I wasn't always like this. It's funny, I was just in Miami, and my sister walks up to me, and she's like, somebody comes up to me, and they're like, I'm in love with you. And it's like, I get this, like, everybody in the world falls in love with Melissa thing, and it's like, it's become a joke at this point, and they'd say it's because nobody's actually falling in love with me. I'm mirroring back to them the parts of themselves that they've lost that allow them to see who they are. And then they take that as this love. And I literally still get to this day, like I walked home today to Amazon packages with like 7 or 8 gifts in them from somebody that met me 3 years ago for a day, and was like, literally like, I love you, and you changed my life, and you're just doing amazing things. One person for a day, like stuff like that happens all the time. And that's because I live in a vibrational experience of love. But I was very, very, very traumatized. I was a very traumatized child. I saw my father rape a woman in front of me at a very young age. I was sexually assaulted before the age of 10. I had days where I didn't have food. I had not a lot of safety and security. I lost my mom at the age of 9. So I've seen it and done a lot of things. And then, but I was a high achiever. I was a perfectionist. Like, you would have never known, seeing me as a child, that I actually had trauma, because I was straight A student. I was the top of my class. I was the one that they came to for all of the things. Like, I did all of the stuff. I was that person. And then at the age of 17, I was locked in a garage and brutally raped. And that kind of just was like, when it's like the thing that is the experience that like breaks you or like does you in, because up until that point, I was just kind of like living my life and hiding and burying stuff. I tried to commit suicide a few times when I was a teenager, and had done all that. But I was a straight A student at school who would hide the bruises from the abuse and the stuff, and nobody knew what was going on, and nobody had any ideas. And then when that happened, it kind of all like fell down and went downhill. And so I went to college, and my freshman year, I flunked out of college because I was so mentally traumatized. And I had a full ride scholarship for academics going into college. I was able to petition the Ohio State University and prove to them that I had mental illness, and that I'd had trauma, and that I was on a witness protection thing where nobody was supposed to know that I was going to Ohio State, so that they expunged. I didn't flunk out. I flunked out of a semester and flunking out for me meant that I got a D's and C's. And coming from a straight A student who had honors, that was a tragedy. They expunged that year, that quarter for me, and allowed me to retake every single one of those classes, so that I ended up graduating summa cum laude from Ohio State. But it was only because I started to, because I was a high achiever, and I was like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, right? By the time I got out of college and was in a place where, I was doing all the things. I got the 6-figure job. I did all the stuff that was supposed to be like the right things to do. 9/11 hit, and I lost my corporate job. And I did what any normal traumatized 22-year-old would do. I became an international drug dealer and trafficker. So I spent 3 years trafficking drugs, and I can't get into the story of how that actually happened and what I did, but I was super smart. I had lost my job. I had a child, and I was going through divorce at the age of 22. It's a lot. And I did not like authority. And so because I make the point of talking about it being trafficking over dealing, because dealing is when you sit in your house and you have people come and you sell some shit here and there. But I was literally crossing state borders and like flying with hundreds and thousands of pills and kilos of cocaine. And like, and when I say trafficking, I'm talking about massive. It ended up that there were the organization that we were all connected and a part of. Some of my best friends went to prison. And I was one of a few that got away because I had walked out at the right time, which was in 2004 after two of my closest, nearest friends flatlined in my house because I did overdose them with GHB. So fast forward, that was in 2004. I moved to Florida. I left my daughter at the age of 5.5 with my then ex-husband. And I picked my happy butt up and I moved to Florida to try to heal my life. And I spent 5 years doing what society said were all the right things. What are all the right things? I got a job, a real job. First one I'd had in a really long time. After, you know, after all this fun stuff that I had done, I ended up in a relationship. I had a girlfriend. I went back and I started competing. I was a fitness and figure competitor. I hated my life, but I was doing what I was told that was the right things to do. And I was like, and I just, nothing worked out the way that I wanted. And I kept saying, I don't understand. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. Like what the universe or the world told me I was supposed to go to college. I did that. I graduated. I had this break in between, but now I got the job. You know, I was making like $50,000, $60,000 a year. It wasn't a lot, but I mean, it was all right. And I mean, in my mind, after making millions of dollars, it was the best that I could do. I was like, well, okay, I'm going to get it, you know. But I just was like, I don't understand. I'm doing everything right, but I was miserable and I was drinking and I was doing this stuff. And then in 2009, my girlfriend left me for our best friend who was supposedly straight upstairs, 3 floors. I lost my job where I was the assistant general manager because I got fired for reporting sexual harassment. And I got evicted from my apartment all within 6 months. And I ended up homeless. I spent a year homeless, living in my car, and sometimes at friends' houses, but I was super prideful. Super, super prideful, you know, like living in people's homes and doing all that kind of stuff. Not letting everybody know what had really happened. And I went back in and I started going into health and because I knew the fitness world and things like that. And I was training this woman, her name was Dr. Eddie Ben-Zion, and I'll never forget. She's like, you need to go to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. She's like, you'll really love it. You're going to learn, you know, more about nutrition, because at that point I was like a bodybuilder / fitness competitor, and what I thought was health and wellness, let me tell you, in that world is not what health and wellness is in any way, shape, or form. But that's what I thought. And so I was like, okay, I'll go to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And that was kind of my, I call it the gateway drug. You know, like when they say pot's the gateway drug. Well, for me, the gateway drug was the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. It opened my eyes and reminded me and brought me back to like when I read the Celestine Prophecy back in 1999. Or when I had, remember when I was a child, I would see things and know things because I was introduced to Deepak Chopra. I was introduced to Paulo Coelho. I was sort of being introduced to these different people that I had heard about and stuff, but I hadn't really followed, kind of here and there, right? And really started diving into that. So I went there for health and nutrition, and what I picked up out of it while getting my health coaching certification was the spiritual side of it. And I started working with clients health coaching, but the thing was, is my clients were having instantaneous healings. They were having, you know, like I'd have a client who'd had a thyroid problem and her doctor wanted her to take medication, and so we were working on the food side of it and things like that. And then all of a sudden we would start working on the energy of what was behind the thing. And she would have a breakthrough and all of a sudden, and she'd go to the doctor and be like, and be healed. So I started doing that, and I started studying deeper into, and I went back to school and learned quantum physics. I started studying neuroscience and started studying all this stuff while I was doing all these things. And from that, I got to where I am today, which is, I've been on stage with Deepak Chopra. I've been on stage with Marianne Williamson. I've spoken in front of people up to crowds of 2,000. I've walked people through transformations and seen them physically change in front of you on stage. I have done all the cool stuff. She was at my last event, and we had massive, there was, I think I have 100 testimonials of things that happened at that event alone.
Yeah, people
right?
From Australia, coming, and all different parts of the world.
Yeah, so. and even yourself, you had when you came into the retreat or into the conference, you had been you're on disability, not working, your back was in pain, you were hurting, could barely walk, right? You weren't able to do anything, and by doing
I could walk, but it was
constant pain.
Excruciating pain that I couldn't work.
Yeah, and that was just in May.
Focus, I can do.
Yeah. In May, and then from learning some of the techniques there and then working on through some other stuff, by October when I went to my going away party, the pain was gone and you could walk, right?
I told you I was doing so much better.
Huge stuff. So I see stuff like that all the time. I'm actually working on what's called the world's largest miracles experiment right now. I've been in it for 3 years, which is why the Quantum Miracles comes from. Is I teach people how, and I have testimonials and lists of miracles that keep happening, and how do you create that in your life? How do you do that? Because I created it for myself. And now I want to teach other people how to create it, how to do that. How do we do the pieces and do the different things that will shift our lives. So I want to teach a couple of pieces of the idea behind manifesting. So I want to ask first, what does manifesting mean to you?
Creating something you want.
Okay, creating something you want. I love it. All right, cool. What else? What is manifesting to you?
Yeah, your desires, putting whatever you're desiring inside your mind, outside of your mind, and seeing it really happen in your life.
Okay, awesome. Yep. Anybody else?
I'm pretty much on you.
Reaching something that you desire, reaching a goal.
So I love what everybody's saying, but the one thing that you're missing or the misnomer is that manifesting, you're doing it every day. Everything in your life, you are manifesting. So it's not just what you desire, but it's also what you don't desire, right? You're actually creating every moment of your life, and everything that you've created and everything that's happening in your life right now is happening because you manifested it. So we have lived in a society where we talk about manifesting, and everybody talks about manifesting all the things that they want, not recognizing that they're already doing that. And so the thing is what are you doing that's creating the things that you don't want, so that you can create the actual things that you want and manifest the things that you actually want. And so there are 4 things that will get in the way of you creating and manifesting what you actually want, and that will keep you stuck in manifesting things that you don't want. Your trauma. So whatever shit from your past that you haven't healed will keep you from creating what you want, and your trauma will keep you creating the things that you don't want, right? So you'll keep manifesting things that you want to. Your karma. Karmically, from other lifetimes and whatever your belief systems are, they've proven that there are dimensional, we are living in a quantum universe where there are many fractals, and that there is something affecting you from other places. So your karma. So something from some other lifetime or some other experience that you have to learn in this lifetime will keep you from manifesting what you want or what you're doing. Your level of consciousness. Think of it like this. If you are always in a state of worry and fear, I can't make enough money, I need a job where I can make money, and I'm always worried about paying my bills, you will always create more worry about paying your bills because your level of consciousness is at a place of worry and fear. And so, and we have levels of consciousness that the level of 200 is the level of courage, the level of 500 is love, and the level of 1000 is the Christ consciousness, the Buddha consciousness, right? And so where are you on that level of consciousness that's actually creating the experience of where you're at? Because if you're living in a level of survival, then all you're going to be able to create is from that level, right? You can't create from where you don't know. And then the last thing is your actual energy, your vibration, who you are at your core being, or how you're showing up on a daily basis. I tell people, if you want to be wealthy, you have to feel wealthy before you'll actually be wealthy. Or if you want to be healthy, you have to feel healthy before you're going to actually be healthy, which is really hard to do sometimes. They've shown that they test your energetic field, right? Like you have a bioenergetic field around you, and people that get cancer, the cancer, before it actually shows up in their body, they test the biofield around it, and it shows up in the biofield before it ever shows up in the body, and they know they're going to get it. Every disease and everything that you have is showing up in your energetic field before it actually shows up in your body and in your experience. So your field, that's where epigenetics comes from, and when I talk about the field, I call it the God field. The field is actually creating and working in conjunction with you to create the things that are in your body, and the disease, the things like that. So only 1% of all diseases come from your genetics. 99% of them are from the consciousness that you're in right now. Your consciousness is creating them. How do they know? One of the things they've done is they've taken people that are like schizophrenics, that in the same body, in one moment when they're in one personality, that body will have a disease such as diabetes. They'll test it, diabetes show up. 5 seconds later, they switch into the other personality. Same body, there's no diabetes. So what's creating it? It's not your body. Something else. Absolutely something else, right? So if you can learn how to harness your consciousness, you can actually change your body, your mind, like your experience, right? You can change all of those things. And so really that's our goal. That's what we want to do, is learn, how do I shift from this consciousness or this place that I'm at? What is the trauma that I need to do? Because the flip side of the coin is, if you want to manifest the things that you want, because you're manifesting, if you want to manifest the things that you want, then you have to heal the shit that got you, that's getting in the way of that. So I want you to think about what's something in your life right now that you're creating or that's showing up for you that you don't want.
Stress at work.
Okay, stress at work.
It's so much better now.
Right. Yeah, right.
Had a pretty
That's what I was
toxic
just thinking.
relationship, not too long ago, that I was like, why is this person so nasty sometimes?
Mhm.
Yeah. Why can't I find that job? Why can't
Okay.
why do I have this back pain that I can't even focus on? Even if I found the job, why can't I even focus at work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything else? Anything for you?
I don't have a great relationship with my mom.
Okay. Yeah. And wow, relationships, right? Family and stuff are so telling. So there's a part of what I teach in the Quantum Miracles. Oh, we got all sorts of questions and answers over here. Let's see what they say. Oh no, they just joined. It says, okay. I was gonna see if somebody may have an answer. Relationships, part of what we do in our Quantum Miracles program that we do is we teach this. It's called the Mirrors of Relationship. Every single relationship in your life is a mirror to something, whether it's the mirror of who you're being in the moment, the mirror of your judgment, a mirror of your parents, like all these things. And when you start to recognize how we hold in the patterns, right, with parents and relationships and stuff, it's really opening and healing. To kind of see where that goes. We've actually had people that doing this work have killed generations of their families. I had a woman at my Quantum Miracles retreat in Australia who's in her 70s, and she was the grandma. Her daughter was there, and her granddaughter was the chef, who has been at one of my previous retreats. Now, the granddaughter had been raped by her brother and father for years. And that was actually how I ended up working and doing the work in Australia, was because they came in and asked me to work with her. And now everybody in the families ended up going through all my stuff because it was such a powerful thing for her. But the grandmother came to this event, and when she was doing the work for herself, both of the daughter and the granddaughter said they felt the visceral changes in them. And the woman, she had an issue like, when you get a stroke and your face is like, muscles and everything don't work, and it just looks like it's all down like this. So she had that, and she was going to the doctor the next week to have an operation done. And during that retreat, it completely healed itself. Emotionally attached, right? But when she was walking through and the healing was taking place, both her daughter and her granddaughter said they felt it in their bodies. Now they may have, if they hadn't been at the retreat, they would have known what was going on, and they would just go, oh. But it was like they knew, and everything shifted. And so when you do work in yourself, when you do this type of work, it will literally shift through families. I've had people call me and be like, you won't believe, I haven't talked to this person and, you know, this family member and this long or this and that, and all of a sudden they'll call me, or we've had this kind of awakening, or this has happened, and I'm like, yeah, right, because this is the way that you that have that experience and what you can do for yourself.
The one kid's acne like started was
Oh.
much less.
Oh
The
yeah,
Australian
yeah.
Yeah.
Even his eczema started going. He's had it his whole life. It started going away during the retreat.
I
Yeah.
remember that.
Or the conference.
That was wild.
Conference different than retreat. So so we want to work on that. So in this experience, what I want to teach you guys tonight is one of my favorite meditation techniques. It is called heart breath. And this is what I call the 5-second cure. Meaning, just like fish oil is really great for your body, and if you don't do anything else, if you're not going to be healthy, if you take like fish oil, it's like one of the best things you can do for your body kind of thing, right? This is one of the best things you can do for your body and soul. If that's the only thing you ever do, if you don't ever do another thing besides commit to doing this, I've seen people's lives completely turn around and shift and change. And the commitment is do it once a day for 3 minutes. That's it. 3 minutes once a day. And I have had people come back after 2 or 3 weeks and be like, oh my God, like what's going on? What's the change? And then from there, if you want to dive deeper, if you want to learn more, if you can start doing simple things. But my goal is to teach people simple techniques that will give, like, you know, small hinges swing big doors. I want to give you small, easy tasks that will help you to open the door really wide so that you can create more, do more, things like that. And then we can start to work on how you can take that deeper into the work and deeper into the things, okay? So this technique is all about, and I'm not going to get into the science behind it. And we have certification and training that we teach, and we have had doctors and coaches and healers all over the world take at this point. And in that, I teach the science behind it. I'll teach you how the brain waves work. I explain to you why with the alpha and because of all of that. I'm not going to teach you all the science behind it today, but except for a little bit to understand that we have an energetic field around us, both bioenergetically, one that comes this way through our body, up through our feet and up through our head. And it looks like a big apple, right? Like that apple kind of thing like this that goes around. And then we also have what's called a torus, which is one that comes out of the heart and comes in through the back. And so it goes this way around us. Most people's this and this are screwed. Like they're not doing well. So really scientific right now, right? Like, no, they're not doing well. They're not energetically moving and flowing around their bodies. And so therefore they can't feed from the field. And that's where disease comes from. And they actually talk about, we feel like, you know, we say we have blocks. Like, how many of you feel like you have a block sometimes? Like a block is what, it's actually not a block. It's a gap in your energetic field. And so so if you think of like how energy moves, and if there's a gap there, and so the messages aren't getting to each other, so then that's where you get stuck, or you get blocked, or there's a challenge in your life, and that's what it is. So if we can start to change the energetic field around that, then those parts heal, and the body can receive the messages that it needs, and that can translate into connecting with the soul. Because our whole point is that we are a soul living in a body, but the body is the vehicle, right? The body, we have to understand how to work with the body to connect to the soul. And so we want to start by healing the heart energy, and we want to create what's called coherence between the heart and the brain. When you connect the heart and the brain together, it creates a psychological and physiological raining of blessings, basically, like 1,300 positive physiological responses in the body. It actually starts at a molecular level to change your body. Your body, when your body is in disease, it creates proteins that are diseased, and those proteins, like so emotions, those proteins create bad body parts. Well, when you learn this process, it actually, at a genetic level, the gene starts creating new proteins, and those proteins are healthy proteins. And if you keep doing it, you will physically heal your body, and you will actually reverse an age. We've gotten to a point where we test people now, like you can test their telomeres. Has anybody heard of the telomere testing? Right. So where people can come in and they actually get their telomeres tested at the beginning of the program and at the end, and they are chronologically older and biologically younger. Because how long your telomeres are says how old you are biologically in your body, right? So we have, like, my mentors that I work with are are in their 70s and biologically are in their 40s. And as I've been doing this work, I have biologically gotten younger and younger. And so, I mean, and obviously I did a lot of fucking drugs in my 20s, so I was a lot older at that point, you know, than I am now. So, you know, my friends were like, you always seem like you're getting younger. Like I went to Australia for 3 months and I came back and everybody's like, are you younger? And I'm like, I lived in the field for 3 months, like literally lived in a place where I was living in a home where every single person had been at my events, had done my work, and was manifesting and living in the field and like creating the whole time. I was like, of course I'm younger. So what we do is I'm going to teach the process and then we're all going to do it together so we can do it. So this is called the heart breath, and then we're going to go in and do the heart intelligence. Because what they've now proven is that the heart has a brain on it, and that brain has 40,000 special neurite cells, and that brain actually controls our cranial brain. And that we're supposed to be thinking, feeling, and knowing with our heart. Like our heart is actually the place where you're supposed to think from, but we've been taught to think with our brains. But when you learn how to drop into the heart, when you create the connection, the heart knows that an event's going to happen before it happens and responds before the brain and sends the signals to the brain. So, you know, you ever had a gut feeling or something, or, you know, that something's going to happen, or you know how many people have had friends that have died that said, I knew it was going to happen. Like afterwards and saying, oh my God, that's what that was. I knew that was going to happen. It's the heart. The heart actually signals that and will tell you what's going on. And so when you learn how to use heart intelligence to make decisions, I work with high-level CEOs that run billion-dollar companies, $10 million companies, and things like that. And when I teach them how to step in and start planning and running and doing things from their heart and the business side of things, that's where the genius comes from, where the downloads come from, where the information, because you're actually shifting out of this patriarchal, do things from the head thing that we've been taught that is not always the best for you. Yes, we need logic. Yes, we need these things. I'm not saying abandon it. I'm saying bring the two together and create a unity that allows you to connect that so that you can actually heal. So what you do is you're going to be breathing. You're going to breathe through your nose. You're going to be breathing deep into your belly, because one of the things with breath is spirit. It is and we live in a society where we do not breathe. We are so stressed. We are so, you know, pent up. And most of the people, you know, why smokers smoke? Most of the time they started smoking because it made them breathe in. You're breathing in, and then that's why they get this stress relief while they're smoking, and then they become addicted to the tobacco or whatever, the nicotine. And that's what keeps them smoking. But most people that start smoking is because they're trying to breathe. Breathing is so powerful. So breathing into your core, to the bottoms of the lungs and down here. You're going to breathe through the nose, but while you're doing that, you're going to imagine that the breath is actually coming in through your heart. So you're going to see and feel, and it sounds really crazy, but when you start doing it, you'll actually feel the breath coming in through here, even though you're breathing through your nose. So the breath comes in here, and then it travels up all the way up to the crown of your head. Underneath the crown of your head is called the pineal gland. And the pineal gland is the magic seat of the soul, is the place where like all cool stuff happens. When you get to a point, like in our programs, I actually teach people how you create, everybody heard of DMT? So dimethylene tryptamine, whatever. So it's the chemical that your brain produces that that sends you into the mystic states, that will give you like the transcendent experience. It's what people ever heard of ayahuasca? Mm-hmm. Okay, so DMT is produced from ayahuasca, or peyote, or San Pedro, or all of those things. The goal in that is that what it's doing is creating DMT, which DMT is actually in your pineal gland, and there's a way that you can actually produce that naturally. I studied with a lot of people that were like LSD, mushrooms, all that kind of stuff creates that kind of like that were in the pioneering of that back in the 60s and 70s. That then it was illegal or whatever. But there's a way you can do that for yourself. But so we breathe in through the heart, breathing in this all the way up, and you're gonna breathe it into this spot right here in the middle of your head where the pineal gland is, and there's crystals there, and you just want to squeeze. You're squeezing that piece, and then you're coming and you're breathing it back out, breathing it in. And then as we do that, we're going to start to anchor in a feeling of love, appreciation, or gratitude. Now, I think everybody in this room is pretty much in a place where they can source some gratitude or love. Like you can think of something that makes you feel super grateful or somebody that you really love or appreciate so that you can feel that. Does anybody need to know how to feel gratitude before we move on? Okay, cool. So what we're going to do, this is just 10 breaths. We're going to do 10 of these breaths, and I'm going to walk you through a process where you start to feel gratitude, and then once we do that, I'm going to actually take you into heart intelligence, and I'm going to ask you to ask your heart a question, and we'll see what happens. And after you ask your heart a question, you may get a color, you may get a sign, you may actually hear the answer, but you may actually have a black screen for a minute, or you may, however long. I have people that it takes them 30 seconds to get an answer. I have people that it takes 10 minutes. There's no right or wrong. Depends on how connected your heart is. Sometimes it may be that you just get an awareness, and that's the first step for you. It doesn't matter. That's okay. But we'll wait for you, and then we'll go around and share about that, and then we'll teach you some other fun techniques and stuff like that. Okay. All right. Awesome. So I just want you to go ahead and first take your finger here. And just make sure you find the center of your head, wherever that is. And I like to take my finger and just until I know, so I know where the breath is going. Like poke it into my head. My breath is going there, okay? And then I want you to drop into your heart. So the best way to start dropping into your heart is, until you learn how to really do this, is to put either your hands over your heart or to put them in prayer position. This is actually what prayer position was about and where it came from. It was to activate and drop us into the heart and start to put us into what's called an alpha state. So, and when I say heart, I'm talking about the heart chakra area, so that place right in the center of your heart. So you can do either hands like this or hands like this. And you notice as soon as you start to drop in there, feel a little bit different already, right? Great. So now I want you to just start to breathe in. And as you're breathing in for a count of 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then hold at the top, squeezing into that pineal gland right at where that was going for 3, 2, 1, and then breathing back out. And then breathing in for 5, 4, 3, 2, and then holding, hold, and squeeze, and then breathe back out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathing through the nose. Because when you breathe through the mouth, it creates a stress response. Breathing through the nose, we're feeling that breath come in. And breathing out. Great. And keep repeating that breath. And as you do, I want you to start to feel a feeling of love, appreciation, or gratitude. Maybe you remember a most incredible experience of your life, where you think of somebody that you love so much, or maybe something amazing happened this week that you have lots of gratitude for. Just bring that feeling in. We're going to do a couple more of these deep breaths, breathing in through the heart, imagining a beautiful light or golden light pouring in through your heart and traveling all the way up to your soul house, all the way up to that little spot in your head and squeezing it. And then back out. Really creating and enjoying that experience. Great. And keep feeling that feeling of love and appreciation and gratitude. And now, as you're breathing in, you can go back to a regular breath, but you're still breathing through your heart and out through your heart. You don't have to hold at the top anymore. Just breathe in and breathe out, holding this feeling of love and gratitude. We're going to see what your heart has to say. It's a question. So I like to say from the single eye of my heart, or from my heart's deepest knowing, I would like to know. So maybe you have a challenge in your life, or a question about something, or maybe you've been trying to make a decision and you want to know is this the right choice? Go ahead and ask that question. Say, from my heart's deepest knowing, or from the single eye of my heart, please show me or tell me the answer to. The heart doesn't need a preface. You don't have to tell the story. Just ask the question, keep the breathing going and feeling gratitude, and just sit in that and see what message comes for you. And when you get your answer or your message, then you can open your eyes. We'll let him keep going, and while he's doing that, I'm gonna pick on you, Jamie. I know you've done this before.
Trying, still trying. I keep asking, like, is my back pain ever going to like fully go away? Because actually, it's at a level maybe like 1 or 2
Mm-hmm.
sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and it used to be like I think I told you before, like an 8
Mm-hmm.
used to be the worst.
Mm-hmm.
I would actually like shake so much that
Mhm.
it would be that bad. It'd be that intense. But still, even the 1 and the 2, I'm just like, I just want it to just go away. And even just like like a couple weeks ago, it was probably at a 4, but
Mhm.
that doesn't usually happen. But even just the 1 and 2, I'm just wondering.
It's just uncomfortable. And
Yeah,
stuff, yeah.
and it's just like a pebble in your shoe.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. I'm not in pain, but it's just uncomfortable.
And so what came up for you? I'm curious. Because I get a message when it comes to it.
Yeah,
For you.
I know. I'm trying. I still don't. I meditate in when I'm in the sauna, and I ask myself, like, is this ever going to go away? And I don't have an answer. I never.
And the answer that I'm getting, can I share?
Yeah.
So the answer that I get is when you commit to doing the work daily.
Yeah, because I don't do it daily.
That there's something in your energetic field, and there's some emotional healing, emotional trauma that's connected to it
Yeah.
that really needs to go, and it's in your field.
Yeah.
And there, anything is like it's a muscle that you practice, right? Like she's an Olympic lifting coach. Like I'm not going to go to her and one time take an Olympic lifting class, or once every month, or once every week even, and feel like I'm going to actually get somewhere and do something in that, right? So what makes us think that spiritually, or healing our bodies and doing that kind of stuff, that if we do it every once in a while, it's like yeah, maybe I can do that once a week, and maybe 5 years from now I'll be good enough, but that's 5 years from now. If I want to be successful and do that, I have to commit. Like, look, Olympic athletes, right? How much do they work to get what they want? Where do you want to go? We have to commit to the shifting of the habits and doing things. And I'm a firm believer in a minimum of 28 days straight. Like, if you do that, you'll never go back, because your life will change so much. And that's why I give the simple techniques of 3 minutes a day or something to start with, because if you commit to that little bit, everything is going to change so much, and you'll do more, and you'll do more, and you'll do more. And what I teach people, and what we do in our Quantum Miracles and our True Intelligence work, is get to a point where you are literally a walking meditation. Like, do I have to sit down here on this cushion every day to get myself in the space and meditate? No, because I can actually walk in the field and create from where I'm at, because I've put myself into a consciousness level that allows me to live in that space. And then I may drop out of it here and there, but my actual level that I live at is much higher. And when I go on stage or I do things like that, that's how I can literally, with my energetic field, affect 200, 300 people, 400 people. And I can actually transmit healing now. Like, I can just sit here, I don't have to fucking talk to you guys for 2.5 hours and just sit here and transmit energy. You guys will leave and be more healed than when you came in. And I do it all the time. People will be like, I don't know what happened, but I just feel so much better about my life. And I'm like, hey, but I put myself into a state to get to that next level. But I live in that space all the time. But I had to work at it to get there, right? It's not going to just come to me. Yes, you can absolutely heal to the point where you don't have any pain. But sometimes we get to a point where it's so unbearable that it forces, right? The dark night of the soul, I call it the 2x4. The universe gives you a feather. Are you going to listen to me? No. Another little feather. Are you going to listen? No. And then all of a sudden you get the honky horn. You can listen. Maybe I'll change. I'll do something like that. But most people, it's the car accident, the fucking breakup, the eviction, the death, the cancer, that finally it's the 2x4 that actually makes them pay the fuck attention and do something to change their lives, right? And then they're like, oh, and then they have to work all the way back from that to get to this point here. And then they get to a point where they feel better about the stuff that then they're like, some people keep going and some people get stuck there. Like, you've done so much work, you're doing so great, And so for you at this point, it's the next level. Like, it's time to be like, okay, like, do I want the job that I want? Do I want to really love my life? Like, I'm good. Like, I'm okay. I was here, had to quit my job. I was not doing financially well. I was this, I was that. I have back pain. Now I'm here, but now you got to break through to the next level, right? And so you're going to go through a bit of a breakdown, and you're going to be able to have that break through. But it's going to up-level all areas of your life, right? Because think about that. Like, can you really have the dream job? Can you really have that? Yeah, you can. You don't have it right now. You don't get to love what you do. Like, do you wake up every day and be like, yes, right? Like, not yet, but it's better than where you were 7 or 8 months ago, right? Right? And so we can't get complacent or comfortable either.
Which I actually did. I don't know. Last time I saw you,
Yeah.
Was I working? No.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, yeah.
October?
Okay, so the following month I was doing meditations, trying to manifest my desires. And I got a really great job here, just 13 minutes away.
Oh, yeah, because that's right. When you talked to me, you said, oh, I'm working in Costa Mesa now, because I said, come by sometime after you got work. That's right. Yeah.
So I manifested that for myself.
Yeah. So see, now, so it's just a layering and a leveling. Awesome. So I want to pick on somebody new that's never done this before. Like, can I start with you? What came up for you? What was your question? Like,
So the question was, what do you most want me to know, or what message should I most need to hear?
Okay. Yeah.
And it was, you are not alone. We are here for you. We support you. We love you.
And was that important for you? Did you need to hear that?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Eric, you were in there for a really long time. Compared to everyone else, but not really a long time, actually.
So there is one thing that bothered me, or
Yeah.
used to bother me a lot, and which is the relationship with my father for sure. And I
Mhm.
was dreaming that I was fighting with him to death.
Yeah.
And that was gone. Maybe the last 5 years he was gone, but he came back.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of know why he came back is because I saw that my father was age he was an ass. He was an ass with me. He was an ass with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that with age he was getting better. But the last 2 times that I went, every year I spend Christmas with them.
Mhm.
So it's kind of weird because I don't really enjoy it, but I go. And I tell myself, they are so close. From my dad is 89, my mom is 84. Each time that I go there for the last 7 years, I think it's the last time that I go there. So I go. I'm excited to go, but it fucking annoys me.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I come back, I'm kind of pissed off.
Mm-hmm. And so, what was the question that you were asking?
So the question that I was asking is, why my dad is such an asshole?
Okay, so I probably should have precursor this is asking a why question is probably going to be
My
really.
mom, she hates him.
Yeah.
And they've been together for 6 years, and but it's obvious that year after year, and especially the last time, in fact, you saw that she hates him.
Mm-hmm.
They live together. She can be nice sometimes with him, but you can see that each time that he talks, she cannot stand him.
Yeah.
And so that was also for me hard to see that.
Yeah. And so, what was the answer that you got from?
No answer.
Okay. Yeah. And so, right. And so, why implies judgment. Why? So the question why. So whenever, as a coach, because I also do life coaching and stuff like that. As a coach, we never ask a client why, because the why says that there's a right or a wrong, or that there's a judgment, or that, right? So we have to ask the question in another way to really understand the deeper meaning around it. I do a lot of family healing work and things like that, and it's like, what made him an asshole? Or what happened in his life that he asked to act this way? Or how can I have a better relationship with my father? Or how can I protect myself from his assholeness? Things like that. The why implies that what he's doing is wrong or bad, which cognitively or consciously we think it is, but karmically it may not be. Maybe everybody needs to learn a lesson from it. Maybe he needs to be an asshole so that he needs to learn something in his lifetime, or I need to learn something in his lifetime. Think of it like this. When we are coming into this life, or and we'll get into the manifesting piece here in a second, but I think this is a really powerful point, is right before we imagine that there's a bus stop, and you're sitting at the bus stop, and it's you and all these other souls, and you're like, hey, I'm headed to Earth. Yeah, me too. Like, what are you learning this time? I want to learn forgiveness. Oh, cool. Well, I'm going to learn courage. Okay. I'm a really old soul. I want to learn. Oh, this is it. I'm gonna go in for it all. I'm going really deep. I'm gonna learn the most powerful way of forgiveness that I could ever do. Well, how are you gonna do that? Well, I don't know. Good question. Well, maybe it'll be something like this. Maybe I'm going to come into this lifetime and have a father that abuses me and hates me, and a mother that leaves me at the age of 9, and I get sexually assaulted, and I don't ever get food, and then I get brutally raped. And, and then I have to go and work really, really deep on how I get to forgiveness. Wow, that sounds like a really tough lifetime. But then I get to share it with the world, right? Hey, you know what? Can you do me a favor? You want to help me out of my, since you're coming down at the same time as me, you want to be that person? You want to be that person? You want to be my dad in this lifetime and be the fucking asshole? No, nobody raised their hand. Oh, come on. This is like my life. This is what I'm here for. Yeah, I want my soul to grow. Will you please be an asshole for me? All right, I'll do it. I'll be the asshole. All right, cool. See you on Earth. get on the bus, come down here, right? Like, so in that experience, we are creating experiences for our souls to grow. We're all here to grow. That's what we're here for school. This is the earth school. That's what we're here for. Every person in our life is a lesson for us to learn something from. So there's a deep lesson for you for why your father's an asshole. There's a deep lesson for him for why he's an asshole. For your mother, why she's putting up with it, why she's dealing with him as an asshole. What does she come here to learn that she's not learning by being so bitter and angry and staying in the relationship that she doesn't obviously want to be in, right? That she needs to work. So we are here in these opportunities. So the question, so the why, if you ask why, you're judging the fact that he actually promised to be an asshole so that you can learn something. You know, it's one way to look at it, right? Like, okay, yeah, do you want him to not be an asshole? Yeah, no, I don't want you to.
Definitely, that has, I believe, it has a good result on me on the way I raise my kids, for example.
Yeah. So did you raise your kids differently because your dad was an asshole?
Really, yeah.
Me,
I
right.
tell my kids I love them all the time. I never heard it from my dad.
Right. So
No,
what a
so
beautiful thing, right? So look at something you got so amazing out of his jerkness. You know, same thing for me.
Okay. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, like if we start to look at all of these things where other people have wronged us or done things and try to find the blessing in it, like what happened for me that made it so different? Like, so I talk about gratitude for the trauma. I have a whole speech that I do called Traumatude. And I talk about the experience of this house that at the age of 17, I was locked in this garage and raped in. And across from that house was the house that when my mother left, and I was 9 and 10 years old, that my father would disappear for 3-4 weeks at a time and leave me there with my 4-year-old sister. And I would like go to school. I wouldn't have, my hair wouldn't be combed. I was a mess. Like, and my grandfather finally came in the middle of the night and rescued the two of us because he was like, I can't do this anymore, and took us to live with them. And next to that was my grandparents' grocery store where I used to like run the register when I was, like 10 years old, and I was super fucking smart. And I called it the Bermuda Triangle because it was this house, and this house, and it was literally like that. And in 2000 and, I don't know, let's see, it was when I was drug dealing and all that. So like 2003 or whatever, I drove through that Bermuda Triangle. And when I did, I was like, fuck you, like, fuck you, Dad, fuck you, guy. And at that point, I hated my grandparents too. I hated everybody, and all that. And I drove through that, and I was going to one of my sister's graduations. 2016, 13 years later, my daughter calls me. She's a senior in high school. And she's like, I had an agreement at that point with my daughter because I hadn't been there for her when she was little. So when she was graduating, I said, no matter where I am in the world, you tell me you need me to be at something and I will be there. And she had literally, would call me like 3 days before, and I'd be like, I'm at a retreat in the mountains with like all my clients. And she'd be like, I need you here in 3 more days. And I'm like, gotcha, and I would finish the retreat and like fucking get on a plane and do all this crazy stuff. So this time she calls me and she says, I'm running track at your old alma mater. Are you going to come home and watch this meet? And I was like, oh, fuck. I hadn't been home in so long. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna go home. And I rented the car and I flew into Columbus, Ohio, I rented the car and I drove home. And I stopped in the middle of that Bermuda Triangle and I just started bawling tears of gratitude. Just bawling because I was like, thank you so much to my father for the things that he had done, and to this man, the things that he had done. And because I was, at that point, I had gone international. I was speaking at huge conferences. I had changed hundreds and hundreds of people's lives. And I was in a place where I was so grateful for those things that had happened to me. And that was when I knew I had finally arrived. Because I knew at that moment that every single thing that had happened in my life would have been happening for me if I was willing to see it. Every person, everything, every experience. And I drove on from that, and I drove to the school. And the track coach was my old basketball coach. And that basketball coach was the guy, he was my English teacher. And he was the person that, when I had been raped, that last time, I had gone to him and told him about it. And he was the only person I told. And he said, you have to go tell your grandparents. And I was like, I'm not going to go fucking tell my grandparents. He's like, you have to go tell your grandparents. And I did. And of course, it was a fucking disaster. They blamed me. I called the second rape, all that shit, like whatever. And he was the only person. He was my hero. He was like the father I never had. And I had written about him in a book. And I had written about him on my email list and talked about this man, this hero that I hadn't seen in all of these years. And he was there and he was the track coach. And I walked up to him and I'm just going through the screen, I'm bawling. And I was like, I love you. Like, I love you. And he's like, I was like, you have no idea what you've done for me. And he said, yes, I do. He's like, I've been on your email list for years and followed you. And I was just like, oh, fuck. And it all culminated for me at that moment of like all of these people that were playing these parts in my life of what it meant. So I challenge you when it comes to things like that and experiences to find out how we can use those to really, like, what is the gratitude that I can find in that? How did it actually serve me? Where are the things? And I do a lot of like deep, like we'll go in and do, I regrow people in their timelines. We'll go in and do inner child work. We'll go back in and heal relationships with family members and stuff. Yeah, there might be a massive amount of trauma you actually have to go heal. Sometimes you can't get to the gratitude, and that's fine. But we'll find ways to do that. So that's a piece. How about for you? What came up for you? What did you?
Wow, that was a super powerful story.
Oh, thank you.
I've just been struggling with is it time for me to try to get a new job. But I've had, lots of changes in my life in the last couple of years, and I have a 16-year-old daughter who is pretty much just crying out for stability at this point. So I'm like really just kind of been struggling with that because I love the job, and then some days I'm just like, this is not for me anymore. It's time to move on. So I was really just asking, like, is it time to move on? And all I really saw was nothing at first, and then I saw kind of a light, and then like a flat line, like just like, to me, I was reading like hold steady, like a line, like just hold steady. Yeah. So my feeling from that is just like stay still for now. Like there's a lot of changes in the other parts of my life that are exciting and dynamic, and that it's okay to hold steady there. So that feels good. It feels like a good answer.
Awesome. Good. What about you? Do you have anything to share?
Well, love. So my mom came up, and then I asked because I feel guilt for how I've treated her the last few years. Even though we have a great relationship, I've just been off. So I asked why, how can I get rid of this guilt?
Yeah.
To my mom, and the answer I got was that it's not your mom. Your mom's just a person of acknowledgement. So if I project that out onto her, it makes me acknowledge who I'm being. Because anybody else, I'd be like, I don't really care. Sorry, I'm not even going to acknowledge the negativity about it or the guilt. So what I got was just the acknowledgement of that by doing it to somebody that would make me think and change.
So what I'm curious is, so you said guilt. Is that we all have what's called go-to emotions? Like we all have a home that feels really comfortable. Like, somebody that worries about things usually worries about everything, or somebody that feels guilty about everything. Like, is that a go-to emotion for you? Is that something?
Not usually. I think it's just because I projected it onto her that makes me feel, guilty as in a bad way of, because she, in a way, when she's dealing with me, when I have those moments with her, or she always just knows I'm off because we're like best friends the last few years. Yeah. So she'll always just look at me. She's like, "Are you all right?" And I can just tell she knows that I'm not the same person as of that time frame. So it shows me patience from her, which I need to grow on my patience. Right. But it's mostly, I think, just like I want to blame it on my toxic relationship that I had for so many years. But I think it's just something that I built as a personality almost from life. Yeah. So I just think that's something that I directed to her mostly for just that eye-opening. Like, you're going to see it if you do it to her. You're going to feel that guilt.
Right. Yep. Awesome. Okay. All right. So let's do a little bit of manifesting fun. How about that? Okay. So when I teach about manifesting I could talk for hours and days about, the manifesting and things like that, but we're obviously always manifesting on a certain level. So there are 7 areas that I work with people on in creating and manifesting like your desires. And each of the ones are connected to a different chakra. And for every chakra, there's a question that goes with it and a mirror that goes with it. And there's like a whole vibrational thing, like it's a whole system and program and all that kind of stuff. What we're going to do today is I just want each of you, and I'm going to grab some paper and some, pens and stuff, and I want each of you to just pick an area that you want to work on. So it could be like, so the root chakra is money and actual material possessions, right? The next one is all around your creativity and the things that you want, like an adventure and things that you want to create. The next one is purpose. So like your career, your purpose, your like the core soul of who you are. The next one, which is connected to the heart chakra, is relationships. So family, love, like all the relationship stuff, right? The next one, the throat chakra, is about wellness. It's about health. It's about, so like, maybe you want to, like for me, I've been doing like half marathons and triathlon stuff, and I injured myself. And like, so my big thing is I want to heal this fucking thing that's going on that keeps coming back to me, which is energetically not actually about the injury, but it's about health and wellness, right? So that one, I want to run some more fun stuff. And then the next one, the third eye chakra, is connected to your personal and spiritual development, right? So like, how do you want to grow in the world spiritually and personally. And then the last one is all about service and contribution. So your crown chakra is about giving back. So, you can pick which area is something that you want to manifest something in. And I'm going to teach you how to do a formula. So pick something good and yummy. So I'll tell you my story about how I did this with how I manifested this lovely house that I have. And so 2017, I had been traveling the world. I gave up my home in Miami, Florida in March of 2015. I gave away almost every possession that I owned. I was with my wife at the time. And we gave away almost everything. I packed up my kitchen stuff and some art and my daughter, like a few of my daughter's things, in a little tiny 5x5 storage unit, and I started traveling the world. And I traveled the world for 33 months straight. And that time I got a divorce and like all this crazy stuff happened. But when I finally decided, I was like, I'm going to settle down, I decided I was going to move to California. And so I was like, in my mind, I thought I was going to be moving to Long Beach. But, things happen. So what I did was I actually created, it's called an intention creation. I created this formula and you write it. So when you write on a piece of paper, it's literally like writing into the fabric of the universe. You can't type it. You can't it's the actual energy of the writing that creates the magic behind that creates the force and the experience. So I wrote down this creation formula, and it has to be in a positive. So it has to be written in the positive. So it's not like I don't want. Or I want to lose weight. No, I want to have the perfect body that does that, right? Perfect for me, right? So I wrote this paragraph for this house, and I was like, I want a house. I wanted a 2-bedroom. I wanted a backyard for entertaining. I wanted it to be in the perfect place where I could meet spiritual people, entrepreneurs, and lesbians. That's exactly what I wrote. And she knows because she's been to some of the fucking parties at my house that I've had. To say the least, we have some fun.
Specifically thinking about the entertainment that happens in that backyard.
Yeah, exactly. So that was, so that was part of it. It's like I wanted to be in the perfect community. I wanted to create that community here. I wanted that experience, which is why I thought I was going to be in Long Beach, right? And I was all the specific things, and I said, and I want it for $2,200 a month. My friends all told me I was nuts. So I scratched it out and put under $2,500. Right, because I was like, okay, it's California, whatever, I had a 600 square foot studio apartment overlooking the bay in Miami Beach. I was paying $2,000 for. So which was like the size of this fucking living room, right? So I was like, okay, maybe they're right. Maybe I can't get a house in California for $2,200 a month. I'm not living in a condo anymore. And I was like, because I can pay more, but I don't want to. So that's where you create the intention, and then you take the steps towards creating the magic with the universe, right? I didn't just sit there like the secret says and just be like, no, I hired somebody to go look for houses for me. I would read through things every day, but I held that intention in place, And this woman, she would send me every week while I was traveling. I was overseas. I was in, it was India, Nepal, and Indonesia. I was there for the last 4 months before I came back here. And she sent me the stuff every week, and she'd be like, it was either a condo or it wasn't in the price range, or it was whatever, nothing. So I fly back from there, and she wasn't my girlfriend. It's a long story about that. But anyway, so the girl that I was seeing, who I wasn't seeing, that we broke up, and then we ended up back with my girlfriend. I'm over at her house. Long story. I'm over in her house, and Hurricane Harvey hits, and it destroys her family's home that lives in Houston. And she flies to Houston to help her family. And I stay at her house because she's got a foster dog, and I'm staying at her house to help her. And I drive down the street, and I see this tiny little sign. And I literally, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, full backyard, garage, blah, 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 $2,200 a month. I was like, shut the front door. And so I was like, all right. I walked in, I looked at the guy, I said, this is my place. He's like, I looked around, I was like, I'm like, no, really, this is my place. And so the challenge being back in 2017, the way that I had my business structured, I had an LLC, but I wasn't paying myself. Right. I didn't really realize the challenge to that until I went to you can't buy a car, you can't rent a house. Like because the way that I was doing it, I was taking owner withdrawals and not actually paying myself. So then I had to look at him and be like, so I make all this money, but I can't actually prove it. Can I show you my bank statements or show you whatever? And he was like, so then it turned out that the manifestation needed to be not only that, which I didn't even know at that time, it needed to also be that I had a fucking owner that would allow me to move into their house without proving that I had personal income. And he's like, send me all your stuff. So I sent him tax documents from the year before, from what I filed for my taxes in my business. I sent him my business bank account, all this stuff and everything. And he looks at me, he's like, obviously you make enough money and you're just not doing the right, whatever. Like, okay, you can have the house. Go off through all to pay the deposit, pay the whatever, everything and stuff. And when I come in that day to pick up my keys, he looked at me, he says, you met me in the field, and hands me a Ram Dass book. And I was just like, shut the fuck up. I was like, no! I was like, did this just happen? And I was just like, oh my God, it works. This stuff really works. Like, I did the same thing when I got my car, how I manifested my Audi that I have out there. So it's super fun. You write we write this formula, you can create the feelings and the intentions and the meaning around it. And I've been doing this now with people since 2000. Started doing this in 2008, late 2016, 2017. That's where I'm creating the world's largest miracles experiment, because I have testimonials after testimonials after testimonials of people that have created massive cool shit in their lives. I did an event in New York City, and it was 48 hours. All you had was 48 hours to set an intention and create something. You had to manifest it in your life for 48 hours, but you weren't allowed to ask what it was. You just had to ask for a blessing and a miracle, right? I had a woman that had been waiting for a green card for 3 years that got it within those 48 hours. I did an event here in California, and a woman, her strange shit, her ice box on her freezer had been broken, broken for a year and a half. Within 48 hours, it fixed itself and started working again. Swear to God. This is crazy fun stuff. I've had people heal spinal issues. I've had people have physical healings. I've seen all sorts of stuff. So you can do the 48-hour manifestation. Maybe we can do another 48 hours and say, when you challenge the universe, it's really awesome. So you want to be like, I want proof that the field exists. I want proof that it works out there, because you might need to build your muscle a little bit to believe in creating something bigger, right? I've been building a muscle for a long time, so doing the house, doing the things. I was on a call with people, and I was like, oh, I'm going to manifest $5,000 in 24 hours, not from a client, not from anybody that I know, not from somewhere random, random, right? I was like, $5,000. I made simple, easy, $5,000 is not a lot, but enough that would make people be like, oh, wow. And sure enough, within 24 hours, I had a woman that saw a post on Facebook, who was not my friend, that saw that I was doing a thing in Africa and scheduled into my calendar, and I have a $5,000 program, and bought the $5,000 program within 24 hours and paid in full. Not right, just to say that I could, right? That kind of stuff that you're like, but we want to do Challenge Universe. So what time is it? Let's see. And what you're gonna have to do is, okay, so it's 8:52 p.m. And so we'll say 9 o'clock. So by 9 o'clock on Thursday night, so you have 48 hours, I want to have a text message from you. You'll give me my phone number, which I think you're the only one that doesn't know it, but everybody else has my number. I'm here. Of a miracle or a blessing that has come and rained out on you in the last 48 hours. So what you're going to do is you're just going to challenge your person. You're going to say, listen, they say you exist, that the field exists, and that I can manifest, and that I can create. And so show me what you got. Like that's why I say, show me what you got. Rain blessings on me for the next 48 hours. Show me what you got. I've had people come up with 15 different things that they've shown. And then what you're going to do for 48 hours is you're going to, I carry a little milk my around with me now. Like write down everything that shows up in your life that's a blessing or a miracle. And there's gonna be some big ones, and then you can say, but I want one that's I want something that's not a coincidence. I want to see something that is, that I can't mistaken for just a thing, right? Like really show me what you got, and then see what happens, because maybe your ice freezer will get fixed, or you'll get a green card, or you'll have a physical healing, or something like that. And it's super fun. It's always a lot of fun. To see what happens. And I always do, and I get all these, like, I usually get out email or something like that, but I'll get all these like messages and be like, I can't believe this happened, or I can't believe this happened, or, all these cool things that happen. I had one woman who had this thing about butterflies and saw like 40 butterflies. There was swimmers swimming all around, right? Things like that. So everybody in?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you gotta make your statement and demand it, and then I'm gonna go get some paper so that you guys can create a manifestation thing. Are you guys all okay? It's like 6 till 9, and I said till 9 o'clock. If we do like 10 or 15 more minutes, is that cool? Okay.
Melissa, can I help myself to some more water?
No, we're gonna have to. I went to go grab more regular water. Or I have that.
You want that?
Cheers for everybody.
Oh, guess I kind of forgot about the fact that I was gone for so long. I don't know where anything is now. Where's all my paper? Not actually in here. I don't like to do things. Okay.
You got a juice?
I have a good one. That one happened in 2 days. I'm gonna tell you, pretty good.
It's a good one, huh?
I want to wait and see what it is.
Yeah.
Don't tell me.
I need to write it down.
Oh yeah, we're gonna write it.
Huh?
I need to write it down.
Write
Can I
down.
tell you which one it is?
Which one was it?
In my mind.
What you want to manifest?
Oh, so no, that's all. Yeah, but so you're picking something specific that you want.
Something related to what I told you.
Okay.
I
So,
can't tell you. Right?
I usually tell people if it's the first time you ever do it, to not pick something specific, because
My dad called me 3 times in 25 years.
to see
So that's when I was gonna call you the next 2 days.
Okay,
Right?
all right, but it has to be in the highest good of all concerned.
That's me what?
So when you want to manifest something, so I had
So it would
to.
be a good thing, see if they call.
If your dad calls you.
Yeah.
But when
That would be pretty well.
Right.
He
Right.
did
Never
it
calls.
3 times in 25 years. He did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
So there's a whole thing around
Especially-
when you're creating something that that involves other people, and then also when you ask for something specific. So I'd say yes, go for it. You might be like my friend Heidi, who hadn't spoken to her sister in like 4 years, and it didn't happen in 48 hours, but it ended up happening within 2 months. And it was super powerful. But sometimes when it comes to other people, there's a lot more that goes to it, which I won't get into this class. But yeah. So I'm not saying not. I'm not saying not. I'm just okay. Where is my
Paper. Just manifest the
I'm
paper.
sure.
Come on.
Oh,
Where's the paper?
paper?
Just like imagine it. Where could it be?
Create your own affirmation.
Oh, and
They're like create your own Is this what you're like looking for, like stuff like this? Create your own affirmation cards.
Oh, I just got those from somebody, so I love to use them.
Oh, cute. Yeah, the reason why I'm so thirsty is because this one here made some bomb guac the other day, and I like ate it for two nights in a row. And yesterday I just tried to finish it, and it like loaded it with all this garlic. So now I'm like, yeah.
Nice.
Now I'm like, yeah, nothing will help besides probably milk, but I just don't drink milk. So that's why I'm so thirsty.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, the garlic makes me really thirsty. Like, uncontrollably thirsty.
You wanted even more garlic?
Yeah, remember? You're like, do you want more? And I'm like,
Yeah, the baby.
Okay, last turn, my turn.
I wonder if it's still good. I like took a nice big scoop yesterday. That chili should be
So I'm gonna find.
today.
I'll read you guys some of something mine.
You still start thinking there now.
Yeah.
I get you the cheese too.
Cheese.
Cheese.
Oh, you bought me more, didn't you? Oh, I forgot. Yeah. I ate your last piece of lasagna today too.
Good. I need to be eaten. Thank you so much.
Yeah, if you know any chefs, I recommend this one. Like that.
You're a chef?
Yeah.
Personal chef.
Private chef.
Yeah. Like literally now I can eat like
Well, no, we
regular
need to
food.
talk because
I
I
know.
lost my personal chef.
But yeah,
That's what I do.
no, Melissa off the chain.
I'm
I'm
waiting
not
to
just-
manifest another one.
I'm not just saying.
Because I keep manifesting. I keep saying I want these things in my life, but I keep manifesting ones that I'm fucking that end up being my life instead of like. So I said I want a vocal coach, right? I'm like, I need a vocal coach. So I go out on a date with a chick last week, and she's a vocal coach, and I'm like, it's not what I meant. Not what I meant. Not
Yeah.
right. Like I was like, not what I meant. Really cool. But you know,
subconscious.
no,
maybe.
right. Well, Heidi, so this has been over a year ago. She just got married. You know, she got married. Yeah, she got married. But I literally, like a year and a half ago, I wrote this thing. I want a chef. I want a chef in my life, whatever, blah, blah. And then after my partner and I broke up last June, I meet this girl in July. And she's a chef, and she ends up like literally being like we were sleeping together for like 5 months, but she was cooking for me the whole time. And I was like, not exactly what I had in mind, but this is great.
But this is great.
Right.
Kill two birds with one stone.
Until it was great. Until it was a great.
Yeah.
Really working out together, but.
If we have a breakup, I'm not breaking up with your food.
Right. Well,
Just say.
she was a chef for my retreats. Like she was like, so now we need to talk because I do events and stuff where I'm always looking for people and
I got you.
hey,
Bomb.com, not even
perfect. And we won't have to worry. I'm not going to sleep with you because you know
Yep.
you're
You can look.
You belong to
Kansas.
her.
You get the best in Orange County.
awesome. Okay, we're going to take one of these small.
You can do a taste test.
Oh, you're going to dance for me? That's the whole. That's the rule. You come to
That's the
my.
rule.
That's come to my house. and-
Don't bring your bio or your resume. You gotta dance.
We're doing like a barbecue thing for the Super Bowl. This one's already volunteered, but she's cooking.
Okay,
Come
cool.
get a taste
Oh.
test.
I should come.
Oh,
Yeah, I'd love to come.
And I don't know if you've met my friend Amy. Have you met Amy yet?
They'll love each other.
No,
Yeah.
I don't know that I've met you. Okay, so on the little piece of paper, if you would, for me, we're gonna start with that one. Oh, here's pens.
Yeah.
Have a pen? Thank you. On the little piece of paper, just write something you're grateful for. I have so I'll tell you what I do.
I'm not supposed to
I-
write it. My
I
mouth's
have-
shut.
I have a gratitude jar, and it will go into my gratitude jar, and then on January 1st next year, I read all of them, and so it gets full all through the year, and I get to read everybody's gratitudes.
It's like a little pen
Okay,
card.
what was that? I'm sorry. What was,
Okay,
what was
on
the
the
little
sil-
one? We're writing something we're grateful.
Something you're grateful for on the little one,
Oh, okay.
and then it goes in my gratitude jar, and then on January 1st of 2021, I will read all of them. And I usually bring, whoever's with me, we do that. I mean, I take that back. Now, January 1st, I'm usually never in the country for New Year's Eve, so when are you back?
You can be a bunch of stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. Give me whatever you want.
Do I have a pen condom too? This one's just not working.
Okay, you need a different one? Mhm. Okay.
Maybe it's just the surface.
Oh, it might be good.
Nope, it's actually, these pens ain't working.
Okay, so you're like, I don't have any pens that work.
I would be grateful for a pen that works.
Okay.
So grateful for you.
Mm-hmm. And then when you just fold it up, then you're gonna throw it in here. Awesome.
I did a gratitude journal this year. It was wrapped on in 2019.
Yeah.
So good.
Are we
Challenging
putting
at
our
times,
names
but-
on this?
So yeah.
You can if you want me to know when I read it who it was. So, and then we'll work on your creation. So, what category are you picking for your for what you want to create?
Manifesting.
Mm-hmm. For this formula that we're going to create.
For me, I'm manifesting something about relationships. So that's
Okay.
heart, right?
So wait, so that's heart chakra. So what you're going to do, I'm going to teach you the formula how to do it. So yours is relationships.
Well, it's peace and trust.
So that would be spiritual and personal development. So that'd be that area, right? Okay. Da-da-da. Sweet. Okay. So what you want to do? It can be two sentences. It can be four. It can be a full paragraph. The goal here with this it has to be in the present tense. So you don't want to say I want
or I will have.
or I will have, right? Because then that perceives lack. And so it's because the key with manifesting is that it already exists in the field. You just don't perceive it yet. Because all of time and space exists right now, and so you're bringing it in. So I already have, right? So let's say that you're like, I am creating or I'm manifesting, or I usually say I have, and then write these things, or like I'm so grateful for this amazing experience, right? Like that. So
As if it already happened. I'm so glad.
as if it already happened. Yeah, I was like, where did I just? Oh, you're right.
Okay.
Let me see this.
Right?
Sorry, look like
Okay.
right. So
Because then what you're doing is bringing it into happening today.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So so I'll give you the first sentence for a couple of different ones of mine. So for mine relationships, it says I have a transcendent love. That's how I started. Like not I want, or I'm or I can also say I'm experiencing. The next one is my body is. For my health and wellness one is my body is my temple. That's how it starts. It allows me to play, hike, and do all outdoor and fun activities easily. Right? Like it's that thing already exists for me. Or this one is so I'm manifesting my next home. So this one says I have a beautiful open format home with a balcony overlooking the ocean and a saltwater healing pool. Right? Like that's the start of my next one. So it's present tense. It's something that when you're writing it and reading it, it emotes the emotion that goes with it, right? So what's the feeling like when I read I have a beautiful open format home with a balcony overlooking the ocean and a saltwater healing pool, right? Like, oh, that makes me feel super grounded. It makes me feel peaceful, and it makes me fucking smile, right? Like, yeah. So we want to have that emotion evoked in that experience. Or, if you're doing around relationships, maybe part of my relationship one is, relationships with my family is I have amazing friends that stay connected all over the world, and we travel and play together. I fucking love to travel. So, and why do I love it? Because I love culture, I love things, but I want to travel and play with my friends.
Right.
Like, so part of my relationship, one kind of brings in adventure stuff, is the fact that I want people in my life and friends that have the ability to travel with me, that we can play together in the world. So that's a big part of my manifestation creation, my intention formula. And why? Because I love to play, I love to have fun, and I love to travel, and I love great people to do it with, right? So like I went last year, I did a couple of different trips with friends, and it was amazing, right? I traveled solo for 33 months around the world. I don't want to travel solo anymore. Like, it's just not, and I'm not partnered up. I don't have a partner yet, just whatever, but I don't. So I'm like, I want to play with my friends. So what is that feeling for you? So whether it takes you a paragraph to get it out or a thing, if it's around finances or money, or if there's a certain date you need it by, be very clear. The universe, if you're going to mail the envelope, it needs to have the correct address to get to the destination. If you are not clear with the universe and give clear instructions for exactly how you want it to show up, then it's going to be very confusing. It may take a lot longer to show up, right? Like I said for my house, $2,200 a month in a perfect location. I didn't say in Long Beach because I would have not found this place, right? I said in the perfect location that has these things. So that kind of stuff. So go ahead and work on that. And then if I need to help you rewrite it, I can help you rewrite it.
Alright, that's the question.
Yep.
Okay. So how would you put into words, like, okay, so my sister, you know I have a twin sister.
Yep.
So she wrote this amazing, beautiful story. She's trying to put it out there in the world. It already has a trailer and it won
Right.
Best Trailer at the LA
Mhm.
Film Festival this past summer.
Okay.
So, and I know we manifested that together. So now the next step is obviously making it into a film. How do I put into words that I want her to find a producer?
You have to manifest for her.
have that same feeling, right? So
But I want that for her.
you just
Like I
keep
really
it
want
really
that.
open.
But you can't do it for her. You have to manifest for yourself. You can't manifest for someone
Okay,
else.
so it's something that I want to.
But unless you're part of the project and actually one putting it out and doing the work to get it to there, you can't create that because you're not doing the stuff that needs to go into place, even if you're not doing it. It's not your project.
Like
Are you-
graphic design and stuff.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, yeah.
Alright. Okay, as long as you're part of the project.
Yeah,
then-
yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's what
No,
I
I
understand.
created like her
Well,
logo
some of
and like
them-
movie
Right.
posters for
To show
artwork.
them.
Mhm.
So
So-
it's our baby, but it's her story.
Right, got it, okay, perfect, okay. So you want it to get into, you're looking to, want it to get into a film festival or into?
She's trying to find someone who's interested in producing the story now into a film.
Okay.
So there was,
Okay, so you have the story, but you want it to turn into a film.
yeah,
Yeah, does it have a name?
Luna.
That's the name of
This
the-
is so fun.
okay.
One more too.
I'm so excited now that Luna has found a producer and become an international film, a national film.
Let's go, sky's the limit. Like
Okay.
Beauty, as big as Beauty and the Beast. This is basically Beauty and the Beast. Just the opposite. It's where the man's the beauty and the woman's the beast.
I'm so excited now that Luna, which is the name of the book, right,
Yeah.
has found a producer and become an international film sensation. Okay. I would put something around the reasoning behind, like because this is going to touch people's lives, or like there's because there's a meaning, there's something behind that.
Yeah.
And then this or something better. So this is your start of it here. I'm so, because in the goal here is that when this happens, the feelings that are going to go with it. So so excitement, right? What else?
Yeah, grateful.
Grateful.
I know it's going to make a really big impact in the world.
Okay.
This is such a beautiful story.
Okay, impactful. And then what I would do is I would so work on this, and then what I would do is I would talk to your sister and then the two of you work on creating something together around that, like around like what is her dreams and goals and aspirations around what that really looks like, you know. And you could even start out with like, I'm so excited now that I found a producer for my movie and it actually gets to be seen, right? Like by, because you might say, you might want to just start with the producer piece and say like that we find a producer by June of 2020, right?
Because you're supposed to imagine that's already, you already have it.
Mm-hmm.
It's already there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So for me, so like I'll share with you one of mine that I've been working on that I know will come to fruition because I've already seen myself in it and I've already been contacted. Like the Ellen Show. Like I was contacted by the Ellen Show because I saw myself in the experience. I know it's already happened. I don't know if it's going to be here in 2020 or if it'll be 2021, but it's already there. I already know. And then because of that, then I got this information, and then I got the contact because we were in BuzzFeed, we were in Authority Magazine, we've been in Inc. Magazine, we went to Thrive Global this year, like last year, like all those places, and now we're going to be an entrepreneur in Forbes, right? And so I've got all these, and then they contacted and they're like, well, we're looking for female entrepreneurs that are doing cool things in the world to help the world. Like, okay, yeah, like, okay. And they're like, well, you have to, I had to submit stuff and you got to go through this whole process. And I was like, yep, got it. I know I'm already going to be in it. Like, already know. Like, it's just like, well, I don't know when, but so I don't have a date on that, but I already know. Like, it's a part of me, and it may be 5 years from now.
Right.
Or it might be fucking 2 months from now.
Yeah.
You know? So you want to, because the key is that you have to believe whatever it is that you're putting in your intention creation formula. So if you put in, I'm going to make $1 million in a day, and unless you actually find a way that you believe that, it's not, you know, then you can't. Like, there's a story tell about these, doing this manifestation class, and you go around and everybody's like, well, I want to manifest this, I want to manifest that. And this one guy goes, I want to manifest $1 million. And, they're like, well, why? Why do you want to manifest it? And he's like, well, because I have this amazing product that if I have if I can get funding for $1 million behind it, he's like, I'll just be able to work on that and I won't have to work anymore. I can be able to take care of this, whatever. So then the guy next to him, he jumps on the back. I want to manifest $1 million too.
Well, I guess maybe I should manifest $1 million to fund this project.
Right. Yeah. And so, but there's a power in doing that. I want to manifest $1 million too. And you're thinking, oh, fuck. Like, is it really going to be possible these people manifest, $1 million in 48 hours? Yeah. The second guy ends up calling his father, who's a banker, or does like investment banking and stuff like that, and tells him about the product that the other guy has to sell. The father says, I could raise $100 million for him. And so he ends up getting 100 million instead of $1 million. And the guy got a founder's fee of 10%, which ended up being $1 million.
Maybe I should just wish for that.
But there's a difference between wishing and creating, right? Like a wish and a want is out there, whereas creating that. Okay, so does everybody have a paragraph? Or you're starting to work on it? And I want you to work with your sister on it too. But you got the idea, right?
Can we do this?
No, no, you're going to keep it, but I want you to work on it and then come back to me with what your sister has, and I can help you with it for you.
Tuesday. What?
No, that one's not Tuesday.
Oh,
This one,
Thursday.
No. No, the 48-hour one is anything. Show me what you got in 48 hours. This is your bigger.
This is the bigger.
Yeah, this is like, okay, something that you want to happen within like this year, or like, that's, so yeah. The 48 hours is just looking for all the blessings and miracles that show up in 48 hours. No, you can't say what they are. They just happen to rain blessings. Okay. All right, so what I want to know is, no, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, so feelings. So I want you to have a minimum of 3 feelings that will go along with if you create whatever you wrote down.
Okay.
So 3 feelings. So whether it's love, gratitude, peace, security, fun, whatever that is, and write those down. So I'm going to teach you how to work with this so that so that this becomes not just something you write down and that, but you actually use this to start manifesting. And you can do more than 3 feelings, but I want at least 3. So, got it? Okay, cool. And then after the feelings, you're going to create a symbol for it. So maybe if you're doing relationships, like mine for my relationship is a golden heart. My one for my money one is a dollar sign that's got some like other things around it or whatever, but something that when you close your eyes, you can see the symbol, right? Like, so that if you're infusing the energy of the feelings and stuff into that it's going to represent that symbol, because the universe recognizes and speaks, like you speak to the universe in emotion and feeling, which is why we need to know the feelings. But the universe actually talks in signs and symbols, numerology, symbols, everything. So the universe shows up in symbols. So you've got to give it a symbol. And then you've got to speak to that in the feeling of the emotion. And your brain needs the picture and the thoughts, right? So that's why we write it down and create it in that way. And when you read your intention, that formula that you have, can you actually see it? Can you visualize it? Do you see it happening in your life? Like, can you, when you, like I make mine really flowery, and I see myself like sitting in the garden and it all happening around me or something like that. But whatever it is, whether it's a a relationship thing, or you seeing you guys at the film festival with it being like that, like when you read it, it's got to create a picture for you. Yeah, you get a picture? Got a picture? Got a picture? Okay, awesome. Because the brain needs pictures, and this is where I get into the science. Like the brain needs pictures, the universe speaks in signs and symbols, and the field needs emotion. So we're getting all of the points in how we manifest something, right, across the board in this. And then I'm going to tell you how you're going to do this on a daily basis to bring it into. Okay? Yeah? Why are you smiling?
I'm an engineer, okay?
I know, yeah. Right. I get it. And I've worked with engineers, so I totally understand. This is totally out of your realm.
Totally out of my.
Yeah, but
You told me, hey, you want to come with
You're
me?
doing great,
Say,
babe.
okay, I'm gonna come.
Yeah.
I'm coming.
Yeah. And trust me, and I work with I work in with corporations and different things like that. And when I go and I teach it, I'll go to the science side and I'll teach the mechanics behind it and things in a different way. So when they do it, it's like, oh, like boom, boom, boom. So when I know my audience, I can teach it in a way that needs for the audience. So I can come to, like, I'll go to do a lunch and learn, I'll do things like that, and I'll teach in a different way when I'm working with a room full of men. Like I just did an all men's retreat in Australia, right? And so I'll do an all men's retreat in Australia, do stuff like that, and I'll teach it differently. So, but when you see it, can you see a picture in your mind? Do you see it
I
happening?
have a picture on the paper.
Oh, perfect. Great. Awesome. So what you do
It's very
is
childish, but that's what it is.
yeah. And so what are the feelings for you?
Peaceful, love, and acceptance.
Okay, great. And so do you know what that feels like, those things?
Well, I feel very much that way with the
Okay.
for sure.
Great,
yeah,
great.
With my kids and friends.
Awesome. So what you're going to do is I just need to make sure, like, with the feelings that you're putting down, that you actually know how to access that feeling. Because if you don't know how to access the feeling, then you won't be able to create the thing. So sometimes when I work with people, we have to go in and teach them how to access or find a feeling. Like for me, I asked for peace for so many years of my life. I was like, I just want peace. And then the aha hit me one day was when my girlfriend looked at me and she's like, do you even know what that feels like? And I was like, oh no, because I had all chaos. My whole life had been chaos. I didn't even know what peace felt like. So I was asking for something I had never actually
Or maybe you have experienced it and you didn't even
I didn't even know,
recognize it.
right? Or I didn't recognize. I didn't know what it was, right? Like for me, it was I called peace numbness. I was like, oh, it's numb, because it was so foreign to me. And I found out, I realized later, and so the universe started showing up and showing me people that were peaceful started coming into my life. All these things, and then I finally got to a point where I do what I call sourcing, and I could step into a person that had peacefulness and feel what it felt like for them. And so I was able to actually bring that into my field and stuff. So when I work with people personally or in our groups, it's one of the things to do is we find a way to source whatever they don't have to give them that feeling. But everybody can feel the feelings that or knows how to access the feelings that are in their things. Okay, great. So what you're going to do, we're going to combine your 3 minutes of heart breathing with your manifesting. So what you're going to do, 3 to 5 minutes of that heart breathing that I taught you, right? And instead of feeling a feeling of gratitude, you're going to feel the feelings that are in your thing there. And I want you to, while your eyes are closed, to see the picture, right? So feel the feeling, whether it's the symbol that's easier for you to see or the actual experience. But by doing that, you're creating and holding that signature into the field. And so your 3 minutes a day or 3 to 5 minutes a day are going to be a combination of your heart breathing with your manifesto thing. And for me, what I do is I have 7 different ones. So I do a different one on every day of the week for my 7 different categories. So, and because the thing is you also don't want to, if you do it to the point where it's too much and you're like over, then it's almost like I'm needing or wanting, and you want to surrender. Right? Part of the process of manifesting is I have this thing, I believe I can create it, and I surrender the outcome to the universe. Right? Like, because if it does, like I surrender the outcome, if I have to have it so bad that it's not okay if I don't ever get it, I may never actually get it. Right? So surrender is a big part of that. So we're going to do the breathing again. This time we're just going to do a regular breath in. We don't have to hold at the top. We're just going to breathe in through our hearts. All the way up. You can put your hands over your heart if you need to drop into that way, whatever makes you feel good. Breathing in, breathing it up to the pineal gland, and then breathing back out through your heart. Breathing in. And breathing out. What you're starting to do now is put yourself into what's called an alpha state. And in an alpha state is where you can drop into alpha and theta are the best places for creation and manifestation. And so I recommend the 2 times that your body is closest to an alpha theta state are right before you go to bed at night and right when you wake up in the morning. And it's like a hack. If you can do this right before you go to bed at night, your body and mind will work all night long while you're sleeping to bring that thing to you. So breathing in. Now once you start to feel the feelings that are on your piece of paper while you're doing this, feel that feeling. And whether it's peace, love, gratitude, happiness, start to fill up with that. And as you do, see that symbol or see that vision that you're creating in your mind. And just hold it and feel that feeling, knowing that it is already yours. Thanking the universe for bringing it to you, that you already have it, that it already exists for you. Breathing in, breathing out, just feeling that feeling. And I'm just going to let you sit in that for the next 3 minutes. Holding that in.